The house creaked at 3 in the morning, like it always did when secrets were coming home to roost. I lay there in our king-sized bed, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a twisted smile, listening to Nina's car pull into our driveway. Again. Third time this month, she'd had a hospital emergency that kept her out past midnight. For someone who worked in HR at Mercy General, she sure seemed to have a lot of hands-on medical crises. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. The front door opened with that particular squeak I'd been meaning to fix for 2 years. Nina's heels clicked across the hardwood floor of our living room, trying to be quiet, but failing miserably. She'd never been good at stealth. "Eli? You awake?" Her voice drifted up the stairs, honey-sweet and fake as artificial vanilla. "Yeah," I called back, not bothering to hide the sarcasm. "Just lying here wondering if I should start charging the hospital rent for my wife." She appeared in the doorway, still in her work clothes, but disheveled in a way that made my stomach clench. Her blonde hair was mussed, lipstick gone, and there was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Guilt, maybe, or defiance. "Don't start, Eli. It's been a long night." "I bet it has." I sat up, running a hand through my graying hair. At 41, I was starting to look every day of it, especially next to Nina's carefully maintained 39. What was the emergency this time? Someone forget to file their insurance paperwork? She perched on the edge of the bed, not meeting my eyes. There was an incident. A patient's family got violent. We had to call security, file reports. It took forever. Uh-huh. I studied her face in the dim light filtering through our bedroom window. 20 years of marriage had taught me to read Nina's tells, the way she touched her neck when she lied, how she avoided eye contact when she was hiding something. Right now, she was doing both. "Must have been some incident. You look like you wrestled a bear." "I'm tired, Eli. Can we not do this tonight?" "Do what? Ask my wife why she's coming home at 3 a.m. looking like she's been through a wind tunnel?" Nina stood abruptly, smoothing down her skirt. "I need a shower." As she headed toward our ensuite bathroom, she paused at the dresser, her hand hovering over something. In the darkness, I couldn't quite make out what it was, but the way she hesitated sent alarm bells ringing in my head. "Nina." She froze. "What?" "We need to talk. Tomorrow, Eli. I promise. I just need to clean up and get some sleep." The bathroom door closed with a soft click, followed by the sound of running water. I lay back down, but sleep was the furthest thing from my mind. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for months, actually. But I'd been too busy with work and too trusting to pay attention. I'm Elliot Carter, though everyone calls me Eli. I've been a carpenter and handyman in this little Maine coastal town for 15 years, ever since Nina and I moved here from Portland. It's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, where gossip travels faster than the morning tide, and where a man's reputation is everything. My workshop sits behind our house, a converted garage where I build custom cabinets and furniture for the locals. It's my sanctuary, filled with the smell of sawdust and wood stain, where everything makes sense and problems can be solved with the right tools and enough patience. Unlike my marriage, apparently. The shower was still running when I heard Nina's phone buzz on the nightstand. She'd left it behind, which was unusual. Nina never went anywhere without that phone. I glanced toward the bathroom door, then at the glowing screen. The text was from someone named M, and it was short. "Can't wait for tomorrow night. Tell E you're working late again." My blood turned to ice water. I picked up the phone, my hands shaking slightly. There were dozens of messages from M going back months. I scrolled through them, each one like a punch to the gut. "Last night was incredible. When are you going to tell him? The cottage is perfect. He'll never find us there." And then, at the bottom of the conversation thread, a message that made me drop the phone like it was on fire. Can't believe you're finally pregnant. He's going to raise my kid and never know it. This is perfect. The shower shut off. I quickly placed the phone back where I'd found it, my mind reeling. Pregnant? Nina was pregnant, and it wasn't mine? She emerged from the bathroom in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel. Feeling better? I asked, amazed at how normal my voice sounded. Much. She climbed into bed beside me, keeping to her side. Eli, there's something I need to tell you. Here it comes, I thought. Yeah? I'm pregnant. I stared at her in the darkness. Pregnant. I know it's a surprise. We weren't trying, but these things happen. She reached over and took my hand. I'm about 8 weeks along. 8 weeks. I did the math quickly. We hadn't been intimate in over 2 months, not since our big fight about her working late so often. The fight where she'd accused me of being controlling and paranoid. Wow, I managed. That's something. Are you happy? There was something desperate in her voice. I know we talked about kids years ago, but we never really tried. Maybe this is fate. Fate. Right. Or maybe it was my wife screwing around with someone whose name started with M and expecting me to play daddy to their bastard child. I need some time to process this, Nina. Of course. It's a lot. She squeezed my hand. But Eli, I want this baby to have your name. The Carter name. It means something in this town. The Carter name. My family had been in this area for 3 generations. My grandfather had been a lobsterman, my father a contractor. We were working-class people, but we were respected. Honest, reliable, unlike my lying, cheating wife. Get some sleep, I said. We'll talk more tomorrow. But as Nina drifted off beside me, I was already planning. Because if there's one thing 20 years of marriage and 41 years of life had taught me, it was this. When someone betrays your trust, you don't get mad. You get even. The next morning dawned gray and drizzly, typical for October in Maine. I was up before sunrise, sitting in my workshop with a cup of black coffee and a head full of dark thoughts. Nina's phone had buzzed 3 more times during the night, all from M. I'd memorized every message. Sleep well, beautiful. Can't stop thinking about you. See you at the shop today. The shop. That narrowed it down considerably. There were only 3 businesses in town that Nina might have reason to visit regularly. Murphy's Hardware, Coastal Auto Repair, and the Marine Supply Store down by the wharf. My money was on Coastal Auto. Nina had been having a lot of car trouble lately. Dad? I looked up to see my daughter Melissa standing in the workshop doorway, backpack slung over her shoulder. At 16, Mel had Nina's blonde hair, but my stubborn streak and sharp eyes. She was too smart for her own good and had inherited my talent for seeing through bullshit. Morning, kiddo. You're up early. So are you. She stepped into the workshop, closing the door behind her. Mom said you guys had big news. I nearly choked on my coffee. She told you? About the baby? Yeah. Mel's expression was unreadable. She seemed really excited. Said you were too. Did she now? Dad. Mel sat down on my workbench, swinging her legs. Can I ask you something? Shoot. Do you think Mom's been acting weird lately? I set down my coffee cup carefully. Weird? How? I don't know. Different. She's always on her phone, always working late. And yesterday I saw her at Coastal Auto when I was walking home from school. She was talking to Uncle Mark, and they looked... She paused, searching for the right word. Close. Uncle Mark. My older brother Mark, who owned Coastal Auto Repair. Mark, who'd always been the golden boy, the successful one, the town hero who sponsored the Little League team and organized the annual lobster festival. Mark, whose name started with M. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. How close? I asked. Mel shrugged, but her eyes were troubled. Like, really close. He had his hand on her arm, and she was laughing at something he said. It just seemed, I don't know, off. My brother. My own goddamn brother. Mel, I need you to do me a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where you don't mention this conversation to your mother. She studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, Dad. But if you need help with anything, you know I'm on your team, right? I know, kiddo. Now get to school before you're late. After Mel left, I sat in my workshop for another hour, letting the rage build. It wasn't the explosive kind of anger that makes you punch walls or throw things. It was cold, calculated fury that settled in my bones like winter frost. My wife was having an affair with my brother. She was pregnant with his child and expected me to raise it. And from the sound of those text messages, half the town probably knew about it. I was the laughingstock of Millfield, Maine, and I'd been too blind to see it. But not anymore. I spent the morning doing research. A quick drive past Coastal Auto confirmed that Nina's Honda was parked in the customer lot. Through the office window, I could see her sitting on the edge of Mark's desk while he worked on paperwork. Even from a distance, their body language screamed intimacy. My next stop was the Fisherman's Knot, the local bar and grill where everyone went for lunch and gossip. I needed information, and I knew exactly who to ask. Tina Kowalski was holding court at her usual table near the window, surrounded by her circle of cronies. She was Nina's best friend and the town's unofficial information hub. If anyone knew the details of my wife's affair, it would be Tina. "Eli!" she called out as I walked in. "Haven't seen you here in ages." "How's Nina?" "Pregnant," I said, sliding into an empty chair at their table. "Just found out last night." The reaction was immediate and telling. Tina's face went pale and the other women exchanged meaningful glances. They knew. They all knew. "That's wonderful," Tina stammered. "You must be so excited." "Over the moon," I said dryly, though I have to admit the timing is interesting. "We haven't been trying." "Well, you know what they say," chirped Janet Murphy, the hardware store owner's wife. "These things happen when you least expect them." "Especially when you're not the one making them happen," I said. The table went silent. "Eli?" Tina said carefully. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything, Tina. I'm stating facts. My wife is pregnant with a child that isn't mine, and she's been having an affair with my brother for months. The only question is how long you've all known about it." Tina's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" "Because Nina's phone tells a different story. Lots of messages from M, very detailed messages about their little love nest at some cottage. Ring any bells?" "You went through her phone?" Janet gasped. "She left it on the nightstand." The messages were right there. I leaned back in my chair, studying their faces. "So, who wants to fill me in on the details? How long has this been going on? Who else knows? And where exactly is this cottage they've been using?" Nobody spoke for a long moment. Then Tina sighed and slumped in her chair. "It started about 6 months ago," she said quietly. "Nina came to me, said she was unhappy. Said you two had grown apart, that Mark understood her in ways you didn't. And you encouraged her. I told her to follow her heart. How noble of you." I turned to the other women. "And you all just went along with it? Watching me make a fool of myself while my wife and brother carried on behind my back?" "It's not like that, Eli," Janet protested. "We thought you knew. The way you joked about Nina working late, about needing a paternity test if she brought home any more emergencies, we thought you were okay with it." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You thought I was okay with my wife cheating on me with my brother?" What kind of man do you think I am? "The kind who makes jokes instead of facing reality," Tina said, her voice gaining strength. "Nina said you'd checked out of the marriage years ago, that you cared more about your woodworking than your wife. So this is my fault?" "Nobody's saying that." "Aren't you?" I stood up, tossing a 20 on the table. Thanks for the enlightenment, ladies. This has been very educational. I was halfway to the door when Tina called after me. Eli, what are you going to do? I turned back, giving them my best smile. Why, I'm going to congratulate the happy couple, of course. Maybe throw them a party. After all, it's not every day your brother knocks up your wife. The horror on their faces was almost worth the humiliation. That evening, I sat in my workshop sharpening chisels and planning my next move. Through the window, I could see Nina in our kitchen, cooking dinner and humming to herself. She looked happier than she had in months, probably because she thought she'd pulled off the perfect crime. She had no idea the game was just beginning. My phone rang. Mark's name flashed on the screen. Hey, little brother, he said when I answered. Heard the good news. Congratulations. Thanks, Mark. Funny thing, though. Nina and I haven't been intimate in over 2 months. Silence on the other end. That's quite an accusation, Eli. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. Just like it's a fact that Nina's been spending a lot of time at your shop lately, and it's a fact that someone with the initial M has been sending her some very interesting text messages. I think you're confused. Am I? Tell me, Mark, where's this cottage you two have been using? Must be nice and private. Secluded. The kind of place where a man can screw his brother's wife without anyone seeing. You're out of line. No, brother, you're out of line. You've been screwing my wife and expecting me to raise your bastard child. How long did you think you could keep this up? Mark's voice turned cold. Be very careful what you say next, Eli. You're talking about the mother of your child. My child? I laughed. That's rich. We both know whose kid it is, Mark. The question is, what we're going to do about it. There's nothing to do. Nina's pregnant, she's your wife, and you're going to be a father. End of story. Is it? Because I'm thinking there might be a few more chapters to this particular tale. I hung up before he could respond. 20 minutes later, Nina came out to the workshop with a plate of pot roast and mashed potatoes. Dinner, she said, setting it on my workbench. You missed it again. Sorry. I was on the phone with Mark. Her face went pale. Oh? What did you two talk about? Family, responsibility, the importance of the Carter name. I took a bite of pot roast. He sends his congratulations, by the way. Said he's really excited about the baby. That's nice of him. Yeah, he seemed very invested in the whole thing, almost like it was personal. Nina fidgeted with her wedding ring. Eli, about the baby. What about it? I want to make sure we're on the same page. This child is going to be a Carter. Your child. Our child. Even though it's not mine. The words hung in the air between us like a blade. Nina's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? I continued. 8 weeks pregnant, but we haven't had intimacy in over 2 months. Your sudden interest in working late. All those emergencies at the hospital. And then there's your phone. You went through my phone? You left it right there on the nightstand. Very careless, Nina. All those messages from M. Very romantic stuff. Very detailed. Tears started streaming down her face. Eli, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you're carrying my brother's child and expecting me to raise it? Can you explain why you've been lying to me for months? Can you explain why half the town knows about your affair and I'm the last to find out? It just happened. Mark and I, we didn't plan it. It just evolved. Evolved. I set down my fork. Like we're talking about some kind of natural process. Like my wife screwing my brother is just evolution in action. Don't be crude. Crude? You want to see crude? I stood up, towering over her. Crude would be me telling everyone in town that my brother knocked up my wife. Crude would be me posting screenshots of your text messages on Facebook. Crude would be me taking a baseball bat to Mark's precious Mustang. Nina backed away from me. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You've destroyed my marriage, humiliated me in front of the entire town, and now you want me to pretend your bastard child is mine. What exactly do you think I have left to lose? Your reputation, your business, your standing in the community. All things you should have thought about before you started spreading your legs for my brother. She slapped me, hard. The sound echoed through the workshop like a gunshot. I touched my cheek, smiling. Feel better? Go to hell, Eli. I'm already there, sweetheart. The question is whether I'm going alone or taking you and Mark with me. Nina stormed out of the workshop, slamming the door behind her. Through the window, I watched her march back to the house, her shoulders rigid with anger and fear. Good. Let her be afraid. Let her wonder what I was planning. Let her lie awake at night, thinking about all the ways this could go wrong for her and Mark. Because I was just getting started. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found what I was looking for. Brady Sullivan, my 22-year-old apprentice. Brady was a good kid, eager to learn, and more importantly, he was loyal. He also had a flexible relationship with the law and a talent for creative problem-solving. Brady? It's Eli. I need a favor. Sure, boss. What's up? How do you feel about a little late-night reconnaissance mission? Depends. Are we talking about the fun kind of reconnaissance or the kind that gets you arrested? The fun kind. I need to know where my brother keeps his spare keys. Your brother Mark? From the auto shop? That's the one. Okay, I'll bite. What are we planning? Nothing illegal, just a little brotherly bonding. Mark's got that classic Mustang he's so proud of. I thought maybe it needed some modifications. Brady chuckled. What kind of modifications? The kind that make a statement. You still got that truck with the winch? Yeah. Good. Meet me at the shop around midnight. And Brady? Yeah, boss? Bring some fish. The next morning, I was drinking coffee in my workshop when my phone rang. Mark's number flashed on the screen, and I could practically feel the rage radiating through the device before I even answered. You bastard, he snarled. Good morning to you too, brother. Beautiful day, isn't it? You know what you did. I did a lot of things yesterday. You'll have to be more specific. My car, you bastard. My Mustang. I smiled, remembering the look on Brady's face when we'd finished our handiwork around 2 a.m. Mark's pristine 1967 Mustang Fastback, his pride and joy, the car he'd spent 3 years restoring, now sat in his shop parking lot, stripped of every mirror, inside and out. The interior was filled with rotting fish guts, and we'd left the windows down so the smell could really permeate. Oh, that. Yeah, I noticed it looked a little different when I drove by this morning. Shame about the mirrors. And the smell. That's going to be a real pain to get out of the upholstery. You're insane. Am I? Or am I just a man who's tired of being disrespected by his own family? This isn't over, Eli. You're absolutely right. It's not even close to being over. I hung up and immediately called Brady. Phase 1 complete, I told him. Ready for Phase 2? What's Phase 2? We're going public. That afternoon, I drove to the hospital where Nina worked. Mercy General was having their annual staff appreciation luncheon, a fancy affair in the hospital's conference center, where all the department heads and administrators gathered to pat themselves on the back. I'd been to these events before, back when Nina and I were happy, or at least when I thought we were happy. I knew the routine, cocktails, speeches, awards for various achievements, and lots of networking among the medical community elite. Perfect. I walked into the conference center wearing my best suit and carrying a bottle of champagne. Nina was standing near the registration table with her supervisor, Dr. Patricia Hoffman, discussing some administrative matter. She looked beautiful in her navy blue dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled, playing the part of the dedicated professional. Nina! I called out, loud enough for everyone in the vicinity to hear. There's my beautiful wife. She turned, her face going white when she saw me. "Eli? What are you doing here? I couldn't miss the chance to share our good news with all your colleagues." I held up the champagne bottle. "We're having a baby!" A small crowd had gathered around us, including Dr. Hoffman and several other department heads. They smiled politely and offered congratulations, but I could see Nina's panic growing. "That's wonderful," Dr. Hoffman said. "How far along are you, Nina?" "About 8 weeks," Nina managed. 8 weeks, I exclaimed. "Can you believe it?" After all this time, Nina's finally pregnant, and the timing is just incredible. "How so?" asked Dr. Martinez from Pediatrics. "Well, Nina and I haven't been intimate in over 2 months, so this is truly a miracle baby, a real gift from God." I put my arm around Nina's shoulders, feeling her tense up. Of course, Nina's been working so many late nights lately, I barely see her anymore. Good thing my brother Mark has been helping her with her car troubles. Very hands-on assistance, if you know what I mean. The crowd was starting to pick up on the subtext. Dr. Hoffman's smile became strained, and several people exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Eli," Nina hissed, "what are you doing?" "I'm celebrating our miracle baby, sweetheart. The baby that's definitely mine, despite all evidence to the contrary. The baby that my brother Mark is so excited about, he can barely contain himself." "I think perhaps we should," Dr. Hoffman began. "Oh, but I haven't gotten to the best part yet," I interrupted. "See, Nina's been getting these text messages from someone with the initial M. Very romantic messages. Very explicit. And they've been meeting at some cottage to discuss the baby's future. Isn't that sweet?" The silence was deafening. Nina looked like she was about to faint. "Eli, please," she whispered. "Not here." "Why not here? These are your friends, your colleagues. They should know how dedicated you are to family planning, how you've gone above and beyond to ensure the Carter family name continues." I raised the champagne bottle high. A toast. To my loving wife Nina, my generous brother Mark, and their miracle baby. May they all get exactly what they deserve. The bottle slipped from my hand and crashed to the floor, sending champagne and glass shards everywhere. In the chaos that followed, I leaned close to Nina's ear. "This is just the beginning," I whispered. "By the time I'm done, everyone in this town will know exactly what kind of woman you are." I walked out of the conference center, leaving Nina standing in a puddle of champagne and broken glass, surrounded by her horrified colleagues. Phase 2. Complete. That evening, Nina didn't come home. I wasn't surprised. She was probably at Mark's place, crying on his shoulder and trying to figure out how to contain the damage. But there was no containing it now. The story would spread through the hospital like wildfire, and from there, it would reach every corner of Millfield. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk." The cottage on Loon Lake, 9 p.m. "Come alone." I smiled. Mark was ready to negotiate. That was good, because I had terms. Loon Lake was about 20 minutes outside town, a secluded area where wealthy summer people kept vacation homes. I'd done work on several of the cottages over the years, so I knew the area well. Most of the places were empty this time of year, making it perfect for clandestine meetings. I arrived at 8:30 and parked down the road from the address Mark had given me. It was a small but expensive cottage, the kind of place that rented for $3,000 a week during tourist season. Through the windows, I could see lights on and 2 figures moving around inside. At exactly 9 o'clock, I walked up to the front door and knocked. Mark answered, looking haggard and angry. Behind him, Nina sat on a leather couch, her eyes red from crying. "Come in," Mark said. "We need to settle this." I couldn't agree more. I stepped inside, taking in the cozy interior. Nice place. Very romantic. I can see why you chose it for your little love nest. Sit down, Eli. I'll stand, thanks. So, what did you want to discuss? Mark ran a hand through his hair. This has gotten out of hand. What you did at the hospital today was cruel and unnecessary. Was it? I thought it was just honest. Something this family seems to have forgotten how to be. We never meant for it to happen, Nina said from the couch. It just did. Right. You accidentally fell on my brother's dick, multiple times, for months. Don't be disgusting, Mark snapped. I'm not the one who made this disgusting, brother. I'm just calling it what it is. Mark moved closer, trying to intimidate me with his size. He'd always been bigger than me, more athletic, more physically imposing. But I'd been working with my hands for 20 years, and I was stronger than I looked. Here's what's going to happen, he said. You're going to stop this public humiliation campaign. You're going to go home, make up with Nana, and raise that baby like it's your own. In return, Nina and I will end our relationship. That's your offer? You'll stop screwing my wife if I agree to raise your bastard child and pretend none of this ever happened? It's the only way this ends without destroying everyone involved. I laughed. You think I care about destroying you? You think I give a damn what happens to either of you after what you've done? You should care about Mel, Nina said. She doesn't deserve to have her family torn apart. Mel already knows something's wrong. She's not stupid, unlike her father apparently was. And you know what? She'll be better off without a lying, cheating mother and a backstabbing uncle. You're making a mistake, Eli, Mark warned. I've got friends in this town. Influence. I can make things very difficult for your business. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I nodded slowly. Okay then. I guess we understand each other. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, one more thing. You might want to check your insurance policy on that Mustang. I have a feeling you're going to need it. I walked out into the cool October night, leaving them to wonder what I meant. They'd find out soon enough. Brady was waiting in his truck at the end of the road, engine running. How'd it go, boss? About as expected. They think they can threaten me into submission. What's the plan? I climbed into the passenger seat. We're going to show them what happens when you underestimate Eli Carter. The Millfield Lobster Festival was the biggest event of the year, drawing tourists from all over New England to celebrate our town's maritime heritage. This year, it fell on the second Saturday in October, just 4 days after my confrontation with Mark and Nina at the cottage. Perfect timing. The festival committee had asked Mark to give the opening speech, as he did every year. As the owner of the town's most successful auto repair business and a major sponsor of local events, he was considered one of Millfield's leading citizens. The speech was always given from the main stage in the town square, with the entire community gathered to listen. I'd been planning this moment for 3 days. You sure about this, boss? Brady asked as we made final preparations in my workshop. Once we do this, there's no going back. There was no going back the moment they decided to betray me, I replied, checking the equipment one last time. Besides, they brought this on themselves. At 10 a.m., the festival officially began. Mark took the stage wearing his best suit and his campaign smile, looking every inch the successful businessman and community leader. The crowd applauded as he approached the microphone. Welcome, everyone, to the 35th Annual Millfield Lobster Festival. More applause. I stood at the back of the crowd with Brady, both of us wearing baseball caps and sunglasses. Nina was in the front row with the other VIP families, playing the part of the supportive sister-in-law. Before we begin today's festivities, Mark continued, I'd like to take a moment to talk about family. About the bonds that tie us together and the values that define our community. I almost laughed out loud. The man had balls. I'd give him that. Family is everything, Mark went on. It's the foundation of our society, the bedrock of our values. When we support our families, we support our community. When we honor our commitments to those we love, we honor ourselves. That was my cue. I pulled out my phone and opened the app Brady had helped me install. With one tap, I activated the Bluetooth connection to the festival's sound system. Brady had worked his magic the night before, splicing into the main audio feed. "And that's why," Mark continued, "I'm so proud to announce that my brother Eli and his wife Nina are expecting their first child together." The crowd applauded politely. Mark smiled and gestured toward Nina, who waved awkwardly from her seat. "Of course," Mark added. "Some might say the timing is interesting, given that Eli and Nina haven't been intimate in over 2 months." The applause died. Mark's smile faltered. He hadn't said those words. I had, speaking into my phone and broadcasting through the sound system with a voice modulator that made me sound exactly like him. "But then again," Mark's voice continued from the speakers, "it's not really Eli's baby anyway." "It's mine." Gasps from the crowd. Mark grabbed the microphone, his face pale with panic. "That's not me talking," he shouted. "Someone's hacked the sound system." But the crowd was already murmuring, looking between Mark on stage and Nina in the front row. The damage was done. "Nina and I have been having an affair for months," Mark's voice continued from the speakers. "We've been meeting at a cottage on Loon Lake, screwing like rabbits, while her husband worked to support us both." "Turn it off," Mark yelled to the sound technician. "Turn off the goddamn sound system." But Brady had made sure that wouldn't be possible. The audio feed was locked in, and my pre-recorded message continued to play. "The best part is, we're going to let Eli raise our bastard child and never tell him the truth. He's so pathetic, so trusting. He'll never figure it out. What kind of man lets his own brother cuckold him?" The crowd was in chaos now. Some people were booing, others were shouting questions. Nina had disappeared from her seat, probably fleeing in humiliation. Mark stood on the stage looking like he'd been struck by lightning. "The really funny thing," the recording continued, "is that half the town already knows about our affair. They've been laughing at Eli behind his back for months. Poor, stupid Eli Carter, raising another man's child and too blind to see what's right in front of him." I decided that was enough. I ended the broadcast and started pushing through the crowd toward the stage. People were pointing at Mark, shouting accusations, demanding explanations. The man who'd been the town's golden boy 5 minutes earlier was now its biggest scandal. "Mark," I called out as I approached the stage. "Hell of a speech, brother." He saw me coming and his face twisted with rage. "You did this." "Did what?" "I just came to enjoy the festival. Though I have to say, your speech was very revealing." Mark jumped down from the stage and charged at me, his fists raised. But 20 years of manual labor had kept me in better shape than his desk job had kept him. I sidestepped his clumsy swing and grabbed his arm, using his momentum to send him sprawling into the dirt. The crowd pressed closer, phones out, recording everything. Mark scrambled to his feet, his suit dirty and his dignity in tatters. "You want to know the truth?" he shouted at the crowd. "Yes, Nina and I have been seeing each other. Yes, the baby is probably mine." But Eli drove her to it with his neglect and his sarcasm and his complete indifference to her needs. "So it's my fault you screwed my wife?" I asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I made you betray your own brother? You checked out of that marriage years ago." "Maybe I did. But I never cheated. I never lied. I never betrayed my family." I looked around at the crowd, making eye contact with as many people as possible. And I sure as hell never expected my brother to raise my bastard child. The crowd was firmly on my side now. Mark could see it too. His shoulders slumped in defeat. "What do you want, Eli?" "I want you gone. Both of you. Out of my house, out of my life, out of this town. You can't make us leave." "Can't I?" I smiled. "Mark, your reputation in this town is finished. Nobody's going to bring their car to a mechanic who screws his brother's wife. Nina's career at the hospital is over. They can't have someone with her moral flexibility in a position of trust. And as for that cottage on Loon Lake, I've already sent photos of you two together to your wife Lisa. She's filing for divorce and taking half of everything you own." Mark's face went white. "You didn't." I did. She's also taking over the auto shop since it's half hers legally. Turns out she's been suspicious of your late nights for a while now. The evidence I provided just confirmed what she already suspected. You've destroyed my life. No, Mark. You destroyed your own life when you decided to betray your family. I just made sure everyone else knew about it. I turned to address the crowd one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for disrupting your festival, but sometimes the truth needs to be told, no matter how ugly it is. My wife and my brother betrayed me in the worst possible way, and they expected me to just accept it. Well, I'm not that kind of man. I started walking away, then paused and looked back at Mark. Oh, and brother? You might want to check on that Mustang of yours. I hear someone filled it with concrete last night. The crowd erupted in shocked laughter. Mark's precious car, the one he'd already had to clean fish guts out of, was now a very expensive paperweight. I walked through the crowd with my head held high, accepting handshakes and pats on the back from people who'd been laughing at me behind my back just days earlier. Funny how quickly public opinion could shift when you controlled the narrative. Brady fell into step beside me as we left the town square. Think they'll actually leave town? He asked. They don't have a choice. Mark's business is finished, Nina's career is over, and everyone knows what they did. They can't show their faces here anymore. What about you? What's next? I thought about that as we walked back toward my truck. What was next for Eli Carter, the man who'd just destroyed his own family to get revenge? I'm going to rebuild, I said finally. New life, new reputation, new beginning. And this time, I'll know who I can trust. Just yourself? Just myself. We drove home in comfortable silence. Behind us, the Millfield Lobster Festival continued, but the main topic of conversation was no longer lobster. It was the spectacular public destruction of Mark Carter and Nina Carter, and the quiet man who'd orchestrated it all. By evening, Nina had packed her bags and moved in with Mark at a cheap motel outside town. Lisa Carter had filed for divorce and taken control of Coastal Auto Repair. The hospital had placed Nina on administrative leave pending an investigation into her conduct. And I sat in my workshop, surrounded by the smell of sawdust and wood stain, finally at peace for the first time in months. My phone buzzed with a text from Mel. Dad, I saw what happened at the festival. Are you okay? I typed back. I'm better than I've been in a long time, kiddo. Come home when you're ready. We'll figure out the rest together. 3 days later, Mark and Nina left Millfield for good. They took nothing but their clothes and their shame, leaving behind the wreckage of their reputations and their relationships. I never saw them again. 6 months later, I received divorce papers in the mail. Nina was living in Boston, working as a waitress and raising Mark's child alone. Mark had found work as a mechanic in New Hampshire, making a fraction of what he'd earned in Millfield. I signed the papers without hesitation and mailed them back the same day. The Carter name meant something in Millfield, Maine. It stood for honesty, integrity, and loyalty. Mark and Nina had tried to drag that name through the mud, but in the end, they'd only destroyed themselves. I was still standing, still respected, still a Carter. And that was worth more than any marriage or any brother who'd betrayed me.